And we've, people ask me about what's this awakening thing, and I know you write about how the idea of enlightenment hangs people up and all of this. That's because it's so simple. It's nothing to seek. It's just an opening. It's a door, and you just see the door. You either see it or you don't at each moment. I mean, you can. I'm participating in this, but there's also just a sense of being that isn't participating or not participating. This is just, we're all here together. It's a mystery. I have no way to understand this. It can't be contained or defined in any way. So although you're a writer, I'm a writer, and we've both written books about this, and other friends of mine have also, whom I consider awake. I don't use the word enlightened. The awake people I know that try to write about it do better or worse at it. But really, when you get to the end of the book, it's the same story every time. And so in a way, you would think, well, why do I write these books? And what I've come to is that you're always talking to yourself. No matter what you say or write, you are the first witness to it. You're the one who hears it louder than anyone else. So we're always talking to ourselves. So I just try to do that in a way that amuses me and keeps me involved in actually applying myself to it. Or if I'm working with a camera, it's the same thing. Then it's a visual thing. And through the tool of that camera, I'm involved deeply in the subject matter. I think that's all it boils down to. There's no big esoteric secret. There aren't. You and I are on the same page, man, so this is not a critique of anything you have said at all. My critique is people try to make this into an attainment, and it's not an attainment, a participation. It's all it is, noticing and participation, and we're all doing it. We just have to notice that we're doing it.
Yeah, most spiritual life seems to be about adding more and more, where in fact it's less, it's taken away. And then that viewpoint is revealed. But I do understand that until you see it, it does seem impossible and complicated because it's so simple that it can't be seen. But I think that's because the one that's trying to see it is the personality, as I would put it.
I think people are generally in a hypnotic trance, and that could be spiritual hypnosis, or material world hypnosis, or a body image hypnosis, or whatever it is. But that just becomes all and everything. And really, it's just one tiny feature of a vast reality, and we just get lost in this. And yes, and then the fear arises. Because if that thing is taken away from me, I'll be nothing. Because we're so invested in throwing ourselves, whatever it is. Let's say it's Donald Trump, and his entire life is invested at what I call pig at the trough. So now we got little Donnie, and he's just stealing shit from his classmates and grabbing little girls and all the rest of it. And he just continues onward. Now he's terrified.
You know that he's never going to break out of that trance. There's no way. That's his life, that trance. But I want to ask you, Robert, do you think it's possible to help people break out of that trance, which is what I would call the dream of personality? Do you think it's possible to help people to break out of that trance like that? Well, like however?
In my experiments with this, what I've found is that it's very hard to get someone to break out of that trance and not get into a new trance. That seems, because now instead of being tuned into heaven with Jesus, now I'm tuned into this next thing. But to lose it all, although you're saying it feels good and I'm saying that also, but you're also saying it's really hard to convey that. And that's my feeling. It's very, I feel so happy. I can't tell you how happy I feel, truly. And I'm an old man. I broke my back last year. Things are not all great on the health thing, and here I am in the house and all, but I'm just ecstatic really at being at all. So that's what we're talking about here. How can you convey to another human the preciousness of consciousness that you fucking hear? I have no way to teach that. Really have tried. Probably I don't have time.
I think it can only happen when people who are close to that line, that it's almost like if you're close enough to that line, you're close enough to hear a song of truth. I think people who are close to that, they don't know what it is, but they know there's something real going on here. And if they're not close to that line, it's not going to happen. And if they are, hopefully they will find people, you know, who can kind of just say, yeah, it's just here, you know. That's what I think you're doing. That's what I'm trying to do too.
I guess that may be true. I just don't know the magic words. I really don't. You know, people say, well, Robert, you're awakened and you're speaking from the other side and all this kind of thing. But there really isn't another side. And it only seems that way because of what I call splitting. You have a you are now, and you have the you imagine you want to be, or that you would be if you only could let go and surrender and all this jazz. I don't actually know how to bridge that gap. I think all that I do in my work, mostly what I do in my work, is take things away that people believe in, because I know that those things are not essential. And the more of them that are taken away, the more what is essential will be revealed. I think that's the best I can do.
Same thing, and I guess I will put it in a way that I am taking away the idea in people they are. That's the way I would put it. If someone's really angry about something and in an emotion, if they're ready, I will be able to point out, did you see that? Is that who you are? Or was there someone that was able to say, God, I got really angry then? Why was that? And yeah, it's just a hair's breadth, but it means the difference between living this or not, or seeing this or not. So I think it can be pointed out, but I think it's different for every person. And I guess it's probably easier if you're talking one-to-one with someone, because you can actually, that inspiration of the writing that you talked about is, it can be directed wide, as in your posts or my posts. So it's general for everyone. But I find that if I'm talking to one person in particular, there's a kind of application of it, which is like a heat-seeking missile that is applicable to their particular stuckness.
What I think is that you feel a kind of freedom and you want to share it. You want other people to feel that free. I think that's what it's all about.
I do. And I very much know that whether it's received or not has nothing to do with me, or even how well I express it, really. And how well I express it is nothing to do with me either.
You know, I feel the same way. Everything that I say has been said millions of times before. This kind of situation, in a way, maybe not with the exact same details, but the same characters filled by different humans for their brief moment on.
And the funny thing, Robert, is I know you've said before, and I totally feel the same, that when this happens, you don't go around thinking about it all the time, because you just live it. The rest of my life, I'm making music and I'm watching a comedy show and I'm just living this life, you know.
Because there are other things. I mean, it's this world of therapy and spirituality is such a tiny slice of the pie. There's so much of great interest just in the world. There's so many different kinds of work. You could study that and look at all these different beautiful rose bushes and their colors, and never think about um, personality.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's kind of where I am at this point. My mind is thoroughly blown. I'm an old man. I have a few years left, probably. And there's so many interesting and joyous things going on. I like being aware of them. And I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about spirituality and be a teacher. I want to express myself. And I understand that there are people who read my writing or look at my photographs and have a kind of mind expansion. That's beautiful. I like having that job, but I don't want to do it 24 hours a day.
I just wanted to pick up what you said about reading books. It's so funny, you know, I've got a whole library of books that I devoured in years gone by, and well, it doesn't have any relevance anymore. I did read a book about Gurdjieff recently, and there's a kind of there's an interest from a distance that, you know, 100 years ago, people were a small, even in the mind frame of Victorian minds or whatever, earliest 20th century minds, this was, of course, always there. And there was a man who was trying to share this in the same way, and not in the same way, in a certain way, in his way. And the methods he used and the way people were drawn to it, I found that quite interesting to see that this is, of course, it's always been going on, and it's quite beautiful. And in some ways, I think it failed, you know, there, from what I read, in some respects, not in all respects. Yeah, there was a stage in my seeking where, of course, I devoured books from these teachers, and that definitely just goes.
If you think back into that era of your life, because I had an era like
Yes.
that also. When you look back on it now, what you're saying is, gee, that seems restricted and all this, but at the time you were doing that, the feeling was more, if I could just understand this,